Dr. DeBacker, why are you so passionate about Fluidda?
So my background is in aerospace engineering. I'm an aerospace engineer by training, focusing on aerodynamics and behavioral flows. And my father is a respiratory physician. So he's a professor in Belgium. And about 15 years ago, he said, oh, it's kind of cool, you can simulate flows. Can you also do that in the lungs? And the reason he asked was really, he said, the conventional endpoints, spirometry, etc., it's really not good enough to understand these diseases. So the whole Fluidda FRI story is very personal to myself. And over the last 15 years, you actually see by combining these two disciplines, aerospace engineering and respiratory medicine, you can really make a substantial difference in this world, and you can really develop something that helps people right away. And if you look at the vast number of people suffering from lung diseases, whether it's asthma, COPD, or horrible coronaviruses right now, you can make a substantial difference by innovating in this space. And it's hard. There's a lot of people that don't really want to change the way they do things. So it's hard, you have to keep fighting, but eventually I think it's worth the fight, and that's why we're so passionate about it.
Can you share a story of a patient or a physician that made you especially proud?
Absolutely. So I remember a few years ago, there was a case of, I think it's a 16-year-old girl, and she suffered from kyphoscoliosis, which is a severe deformation of the spinal cord. But she was quite active. She played volleyball and everything was fine, up until the point where she started showing symptoms. She started wheezing, she couldn't play volleyball anymore, she was really quite inactive, and physicians didn't really know what was going on because the conventional lung function tests were still reasonably okay. So we took a CT scan, we performed the FRI analysis, and it turned out that the deformation of the spinal cord, because she was young, she was still growing, was at a point where it started occluding a larger airway. So really a whole part of the lung was blocked by the spinal cord that was pressing on that lung. So that was a diagnosis we could help to establish. And then we helped the physician to design the stent that was placed in the airway to make sure that zone reopens. And it worked very well. So after a few weeks, the values returned more to normal. She could play volleyball again, and she was really, she returned to a more normal life. And that's a case where I think it's worthwhile doing this, because you do have an immediate positive impact on patients that suffer from these lung diseases.
Can you please tell us about your nonprofit company, Join the Fight?
Absolutely. So, like yourself, I live in California, and every year we're faced with these wildfires. Increasingly faced with wildfires more and more. A few years ago, we've done some research looking at the effect of inhaling smoke from wildfires. We collaborated with UC Davis, and we looked at monkeys, especially the newborns. And we saw that inhaling particle smoke at younger ages impairs the growth of the lungs. So that made us think that, of course, the people that are very much exposed to these smoke particles are firefighters, first responders, etc. And we know that symptoms show up late. We know that the conventional lung function tests can tell everything is fine, but there is an underlying condition that is growing. So we started a non-for-profit organization to really focus on that group of people to understand how healthy or diseased their lungs really are, what their risks are, and what we can do to keep them as healthy as possible. Because the next time the fires break out, we need those men and women, those heroes, to be as healthy as possible. Also today, when we hear about underlying health conditions making people at a higher risk for adverse events of the coronavirus, I think it's very important to know if there are underlying conditions in these men and women, such that we can take the necessary actions to prevent bad things from happening to them, because I think they deserve to stay healthy as long as possible, for sure.
Finally, Dr. DeBacker, what is on the horizon for Fluidda?
So I do hope that maybe after everything that's happening now, we do see more of an uptake of innovation in the respiratory space. At Fluidda, we would definitely like to lead that innovation over the next few years, because I do think that it could provide a terrific benefit to many, many patients out there. So on the horizon is hopefully that we'll see a shift from just looking at conventional endpoints, spirometry, symptoms, etc., to the more advanced image-based technologies so that we can catch all these things in an earlier state and keep many, many people healthier for a longer period of time. So that's my hope.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on your extraordinary work, and thank you for developing this incredible technology to detect lung diseases earlier and optimize treatment.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to tell our story. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Kathy Ireland.